Welcome back to the Pod of Greed.
Welcome back indeed, guys. Hope you're having another Thursday. It's another week on the pod.
Wednesday for us.
And we're here on time this week.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're recording on the normal day.
We're a little late today, but...
Yeah, that's not their problem. That's mine in editing later.
That's true.
Hope you guys are having a great week.
I'm gonna sleep.
I usually don't on the nights I edit this, actually. Anyways, welcome back to the podcast. Hopefully you're all having a great week. We've got lots of Yu-Gi-Oh to catch up on and other games and anime and things.
And then random interesting stories.
Yeah, got plenty of those in abundance. So yeah, before we get into it, of course,
I want to address one person and one person in particular. You left a question in our pot collection on our form, and I don't know what you said in your question, but I want you to know we read it and we don't know what you mean. Just know you said that.
Okay. You're leaving that as ambiguous as possible.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I can say is because to explain it would mean I understood it.
Maybe we'll get into it later in the pod.
We make it an entire segment.
I mean, it could.
Everyone, let's decipher this comment.
Okay. So, ones in chat if you're
put your ones up.
The YouTube premiere
gang, right?
And of course, liking the video really helps, goes a long way, spreads it to more people.
And just like commenting on the video. I know a lot of you guys are in the premiere where you're commenting live, but also the static comments are good too. They're still important.
We're basically just begging for engagement, in case you can tell. So.
Basically on our hands and knees. Yeah. Paul, get on your hands and knees and beg.
I will when you do.
Okay, then we're not doing it because if I go down, I'm not likely getting back up again.
All right. Well, anywho, there are some Yu-Gi-Oh things that have happened. One of the things that I wish we'd been able to cover last week, but because of timing, we couldn't, is that we got the next Yu-Gi-Oh Chronicles promotional anime episode.
Yes, this one chronicles the Dogmatika branded story and archetypes.
The Albaz stuff. So already off the bat, it's an improvement. Have you seen it, I assume, yeah?
Oh, yeah. I saw it pretty much a few minutes after it went live. Mm-hmm. It's everything we wanted for a Sky Striker and just didn't get.
Yeah. I liked it a lot. I thought that this was very much what I think more in line with what people wanted. It was longer. It was about 6 minutes.
6 minutes, 40 seconds, something like that?
So, yeah, something like that. I mean, obviously, there's a little intro and outro part, so that kind of shaves down on the time. But it was significantly longer.
It was voice acted.
Yeah, there was far more voice acting. I know that the Sky Striker one technically had some voice acting. It just was very minimal. Engaging.
It had more than 2 characters.
Yeah, and more so than anything, it was telling a story. Mm-hmm. So we started from just how the Dogmatika church kind of exists at the start of the story.
Yep.
Where they're kind of, praising the Holy Church, but also there's kind of this hint that they kind of don't really want any outsiders, and maybe causing some holy wars and such.
Dogmatikas.
And there's even, in my opinion, slightly better animation, I would even say, just because it felt more, more organic, more like anime animation as opposed to promo video for mobile game animation.
I mean, the Sky Striker stuff was so action scene heavy. I think it was hard to gauge the actual quality of their animation, since these would essentially have this been done by your key animators.
Yeah, like the Sakuga people.
They would
basically
just do the fight scene, which might have nothing to do with how the actual rest of the anime looks. But in this case, we actually got a decent enough mix of action and just normal animation, and it felt really high quality, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I liked seeing Ecclesia and Fleur-de-Lis as characters. They speak, they have a relationship clearly.
They very clearly define the relationship between the 2 characters. By now, we all knew that they were found sisters, essentially, within the Church of Dogmatika. But seeing it play out animated made it was nice. It was clear. It was nice. And then the rift in the sky opens.
Yeah, and we see Albaz land.
That was not Albaz. That was Titanic Lad.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point.
As I call him, Titanic Lad.
Yeah, he becomes just a lad once
Yes.
he's done. And so I thought that it was all around just an improvement. Very good. Not even like, it's not perfect, right? Like, I still think that more people want, I guess, a full, even more full anime.
We still want our other 4 minutes. We want that 10-minute action.
It'd be nice to kind of get a little bit more time, but this is still just such a marked improvement that
Agreed.
I can't really find like specific negative things to say. And
it started from the logical beginning.
Right. That helped a lot.
Because of the way Sky Striker went, I was kind of worried that this series would just be hype moment from the Albaz story, hype moment from the Albaz story, hype moment. And
Yeah,
it's over.
like if this was the Sky Striker version of this, it would have been literally Titanic-lad falling from the sky. That'd be happening already. Like, it would start with him falling from the sky, and like Ecclesia and Fleur de Lis kind of like looking scared and like running towards it, and then like he fell and they aimed their thing, and then the thing would end. But I like that they went to the trouble of establishing the area where we are and kind of what the relationship between these two existing characters are, and then something shows up, and that's the inciting event, as opposed to just here you're thrown into the action and like you don't know who anyone is, and it's over before you can blink.
Like, and I feel like we got a taste of what the pacing of this story will be like, because what this was essentially our very first line of branded Dogmatika support.
Yeah,
it just covers. You see all of the original Dogmatika cards, and then you see Albaz and Titanic-lad, and then
this was effectively the set Return of the Duelist, I
Yes,
believe. The 2020 set that debuted Dogmatika had Nadir's Servant, had Fleur de Lis, had Ecclesia, had Maximus, and like those were the cards shown. And there's like even some fun little like Easter eggs, like you can see Tri Brigade Nerval in like the background of one of the scenes, like kind of jumping around doing, I guess, reconnaissance duty of some sort.
Yep.
So like it hints at what's coming next. It makes me hope that what they could basically do, but I think there's only supposed to be 3 episodes of this, so that probably won't be able to happen. But like, is each episode is basically like a set, because
that would be cool.
In the very next set after the one that Dogmatika was released, the one that gave us Tri Brigade, like that set basically just showed us all the Tri Brigade cards, gave them some of their stuff. So like it'd be cool if that's what episode 2 was, and we just kind of continued chronologically over
we would just need more episodes.
Yeah, because that'd be like about 12 episodes worth of story, because there's 12 sets that had those cards in them, and then you just be like, yeah, okay, you get your story. But instead, we're I think only going to get 3, so I think that the pace will probably ratchet up a lot more.
So, I mean, because I don't even really know what, cause if we only get 3 moments in this story, the beginning is obvious, right? The ending is obvious. They're gonna have to end with the Battle of Golganda, but
I don't know what the middle would be.
I don't know what you make the middle. There are multiple points where they're all fine. They're definitely not gonna cover the Spriggan story of them hunting the serpent in the Golganda. That's not gonna. They're not.
Yeah, I have a fear that we're basically gonna get a flash montage of like many things in the middle.
And then just get straight into the sword soul.
And I think the last episode will actually be like just the fight at Golganda, because there's so much that just happens. Like you meet the Tri Brigade, you meet the Spriggans. Like there's kind of a story about the sprites going on. There's even like stuff that I don't think that many people care as much about. Like Ice Shade was never as popular archetype wise, but it was part of that story too. And so I think for that we might kind of get more flashes. I just don't see how within 3 episodes you can cover it all in much of a satisfying way.
But I think if we're just looking at the biggest moments, we have to have the fight where Albaz turns into Mirror Jade.
Yeah.
I feel like that's 2nd episode. And then the 3rd episode will just be the final battle of Golganda. Because you can't skip Mirror Jade, but you also can't skip the ending.
Right. What I'm hoping to see is at least, because we got such a nice kind of tender moment between Ecclesia and Fleur de Lis, I would like to get a similarly tender moment, or just something that establishes the relationship of Kit and Farajate. Now, I don't think that we were going to get, because obviously they're not as much of main characters as like Ecclesia
asking
is.
For the moon.
So that ain't happening.
You think Kit will be shown?
But I think, I want to at least see Kit, like, Something's gonna happen,
Kit's
right?
around so much in the story. Like, I feel like there'll be a passing cameo,
Because
but that's all we're gonna get.
Because I mean, she's like with the Springin, she's like building stuff. She's using the sprites for like her energy source. She's the vehicle they use when they're escaping Golconda after the battle, and like it's like the brand new Horizon card or whatever.
Right, but was she there when Albaz turned into Mara Jade?
Yeah,
Was
who
she
knows?
there when they fought off Albert and the Bestials? Like, no, and we gotta make our peace with that. Neither were my Spriggans. Like, the only there was one Spriggan inside of Ecclesia's hammer, and I'm gonna have to take solace in that because that's all the shine they're gonna get.
Yeah, so either way, it was good. I liked it.
Yeah, I give it 2 thumbs up. Good job, Konami. Ooh, that felt weird to say.
I know. We're not supposed to compliment them on the show.
Yeah,
we're shills who are paid by them and sponsored by Konami, right, Alec?
Yeah, we're sponsored, we're paid and bought, so we hate Konami.
Yeah, we will take our check in the mail, please, soon, Konami.
That's
for
right.
complimenting the show and never saying anything else critical about. We're being sarcastic. In case
I feel
tell.
like we were very confused. For some people, that whole thing just now was very confusing.
That's actually a great segue into not a story, but rather just like a general comment I have, which is that doing this podcast has certainly shown me
that y'all are dumb. No.
It's more that.
Oh God.
No. It has shown me that I do realize some people aren't like always clear on, I guess, like. Because like sometimes we'll have these episodes where we'll say like good things about Yu-Gi-Oh, and sometimes we'll have these episodes where it's like these not so good things about Yu-Gi-Oh.
But depending on someone's disposition, they'll only hear the good or
and so people they'll hear like they'll hear these episodes where we say like something good, like, oh, Konami did this good thing, or rather, how about this? Here's a good recent example. Like when we talked about the Edison stuff, like the Edison changes or the Time Wizard changes, and like we defended a stance Konami might have about why they did or didn't do it. And people were like, no, like, don't give Konami any credit. Like, you guys are just trying to defend them. I know you guys just want to, like, keep your sponsorship and all this stuff. And I'm just like, I can't obviously, that's not the point of it all. But, like, all I can say is we're far from sponsored by Konami. That's, like, maybe the nicest way I can put that.
They some good people. And if they want to put some dollars in my pocket, I'll take it. But my pocket's empty.
Yeah, but that's the thing is, like, I think people, they'll hear, like,
I've eaten the same burger for the last 3 days. Please, I'll be a shell. Just I'll do it.
Yeah, it's like, if Konami wants to give me some money, sure. I'm just saying, like, so just to clear that up, whenever we cover stories, like Yu-Gi-Oh stuff, I guess in particular, if we're ever defending a Konami angle, it's usually because it's like, well, we want to just show a side of how something can be viewed. And then if we're ever like critical of Yu-Gi-Oh, which we also get people who are like, you guys just must hate this game and all you do is complain. It's like, no, I mean, there's things we like and there's things we don't.
We wouldn't be here. Paul wouldn't be wearing all the Yu-Gi-Oh merch if we hated
Yeah, because it's true. So yeah, it's just that doing this podcast has certainly shown me that sometimes even when we're being maybe a little sarcastic or tongue-in-cheek, some people don't always read that as easily. So
hey, but to y'all who get it, we appreciate you.
Yeah. Just thought
y'all don't leave as long of comments, and we appreciate that too. But we know.
Anywho, here's some more Yu-Gi-Oh news. Did you know that they were doing the, what do they call it? I guess the Shadow Duelist, the Masked Duelist thing in.
No, that caught me completely flat-footed.
Yeah,
I saw a post about it when I was eating lunch today, and I was like, "Wait, was there a tournament on a Wednesday?"
So the third Shadow Duelist event on Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, they revealed who the Shadow Duelist was. Got to backtrack a little bit, though, because the tournament that was tied to this happened like 3 months ago, apparently. It was sort of a guest, like Pheromone, he's one of the Konami content creators. He streamed some of it. But like the tournament for this, because what they'll always do is they'll do a Shadow Duelist tournament, and the winner of said tournament will get a prize, they'll get a signed mask, and they get to...
Did they get to duel the Shadow Duelist?
As of the last two, they get to duel the Shadow Duelist. They did not get to duel against Zayn Malik, but they did get to duel against Xavier Woods and also Dylan Sprouse, who was the Shadow Duelist.
You sure it's not Cole?
It is, in fact, Dylan Sprouse.
Okay, they're twins. You know that, right?
So yeah, the Shadows was Baron Bloodthorn, and I gotta say, I thought it was really cool how they kind of did the red, like, vampire aesthetic for him and all of the lead-up
They let him get in character.
Yeah, it turns out he plays Yu-Gi-Oh! I can't say I'm terribly surprised. He's the age group.
Fair.
And yeah, he
I want to
did it.
I'm assuming he's older than me.
He might be around the same age.
I feel like.
Let's look it up.
Oh no, maybe he's younger. What year?
Dylan Sprouse was okay. He's older than you, I think.
92.
92.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, respect. All right.
Yeah. So anyway.
All right. Respect, big bro.
I thought that was kind of cool. Dylan Sprouse likes Yu-Gi-Oh. I, however, will say the same things I always say about these Shadow Duelist things. I think that they come up out of nowhere and people never really know to like tune in or to care.
I was very surprised.
And so what ends up kind of happening instead is you hear about it after the fact, and that's that.
Which kind of defeats the purpose if they did a live stream to announce it. You weren't there for the live stream, so that makes it kind of moot.
Yeah. I've always said I just think they should be like, okay, hey guys, Dylan Sprouse likes Yu-Gi-Oh! And he will be on stream on this upcoming day dueling against like fans or whatever. And then that way everybody can know to tune in to it, as opposed to here's this kind of like masked player gimmick and these clues. Because I think most people have sadly just checked out of it, of caring about it. They only really cared the first time when it was like new and novel. And also there was like the whole ban list controversy at that time. And so people tuned into the stream to bitch about it.
The Shadow Duelist shows the ban list.
Yeah, the Shadow Duelist, the Vomiting Horse, and everything else. Well, anyway, I just think like it would be more interesting to just name the celebrity and like have a day where they are going to duel against some people.
See, I think you should take it a step further than that. Now that we have, 4 Shadow Duelists?
There's 3.
3?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, 3. There's been 3 Shadow Duelists. Now that we have a group of people that have been paid to at least say that they like Yu-Gi-Oh, why not just have the Shadow Duelists duel each other?
That could be really fun. A celebrity Shadow Duelist thing.
Celebrity Shadow Duels.
That'd be fun. That'd be fun.
Because I don't know why we're married to the style of Shadow Duelist reveals. I don't get it, but sure, I'll make my peace with it. But now that we already know these Shadow Duelists, they have persona, they have names, they have masks, make them play each other. We can actually announce that ahead of time too. And they have their own fan bases who could buy in on like so-and-so beating so-and-so.
Because honestly, like I think people would be very interested in like, okay, Zayn Malik versus Dylan Sprouse in Yu-Gi-Oh! Like it seems just random enough to be like exciting and cool, as opposed to just sort of the weird, awkward lead up. And even the reveal interviews are a little stilted because it's like, I guess like they're getting to unmask him, but like you, the audience, is not really involved in that in any way.
It's strange to do a private unmasking of like a celebrity because like, you know, like The Masked Singer, it's that show where like they anonymously have people perform and they sing for a full season, and then like they take off their mask and like, oh my God, it's so and so, and the whole crowd goes crazy. There's no whole crowd goes crazy part. Like maybe people in the like live stream chat are going crazy.
If Konami decided to allow live
if you're
stream
watching the video itself, you just see the interviewers going crazy, and there's something really messed up that they want us to pretend like the interviewers didn't already know who the Shadow Duelist was before they took the mask off. Because otherwise, how do they always know the name of the celebrity, the exact correct name on the first try? I'm not saying these people aren't famous. I'm just saying that, you know,
someone should have accidentally said Cole Sprouse.
Yes, he's an identical twin, for God's sake.
I'm sensing a little bit of twin bitterness coming out
just
from
saying,
you.
If you have 3 people on a live stream and a twin takes their mask off, at least one of you should have said the wrong twin, because it's a 50-50 chance.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. I think that the concept is cool. If it was me, I would execute it a little bit differently.
But look, all is not lost. They can still start announcing Shadow Duelist matches. Shadow Duelist versus Shadow Duelist. Will it be a kind of a logistical nightmare to set up? Sure. Will it be expensive? Definitely. Should they do it? You might as well. You already sunk money into creating the images of the Shadow Duelists. The branding's already there. They've done it once. They can probably just do it again.
Yeah. So,
Ooh, and normies playing Yu-Gi-Oh can be fun because you're never quite sure what their Yu-Gi-Oh playing ability is. But one thing you can be damn sure is they're usually not as good as a modern Yu-Gi-Oh player. So they could probably match up against each other for a fairly entertaining game.
Yeah, I know. Like, that would be fun. Just watch them kind of scramble and fumble, and like that's the entertainment.
Like, remember when we did deck flexing?
Yeah.
And we had who? Oh man, I'm blanking on their names now.
Rosemi,
we had Vicious.
Oh yeah, there's a few people. There's like 3 episodes. There's Vicious and Jaewong. That was episode 1.
That was a specific one I wanted to highlight. Vicious versus Jaewong, because neither one of them had an advantage in like deck choice or Yu-Gi-Oh knowledge. They knew what they knew of Yu-Gi-Oh. They had a similar pool of cards to work with, and they just had a great time playing. I know some people might say, oh, y'all scripted that, or they were paid to have fun. They had fun all on their own. I can assure you of that.
Yeah, I think that gets the most organic result. And to me, organic results are kind of what we desperately need in these sorts of campaigns, not like stilted kind of just clearly the 3 people interviewing him knew who he was. And it's also like they're just talking to him in front of there's actually an element of that confuses me, which is like, okay, the Shadow Duelist person is always in this like black room with a little like lit RGB triangle thing in the background. It's got a cool little setup or whatever, and they have their mask on. And they seem to be doing these interviews live, like on a Discord call or something, whatever. But clearly, like, it's happening in a set. And then the Konami people are at their little Konami desk. And it's like, why aren't they all just maybe in the same room? Like, are they in the same room? And is this like one room apart from them? Like, they're just down the hallway? Like, I don't know what's...
Yeah, that would be crazy if they're all just in the Konami office together, but all pretending they don't know who it is and pretending like they're not a room apart.
Yeah, I just think like that... Whatever. I won't harp on it. It just seems kind of weird.
They're working with whatever they've got to work with. They're doing their best, y'all. That's all I can say.
Anywho, the next little tidbit of Yu-Gi-Oh news is that Duelist Advance's sneak peek is this weekend.
Yay! But
I mean, there's not really a but. I guess we're not going.
We don't have a sneak peek in our area, at least as far as we know. We got to do some research on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, our local card shop is not having one. I guess they weren't able to get it done in time. It sucks. It happens. But maybe we can find one that's within a distance and perhaps go.
Well, I'm in a tough position because this is also Digimon pre-release weekend. So
yes, Alec isn't going.
Don't do
it. Does
like
suck
that.
Because normally our sneak peeks at this shop are on Sunday, and like typically Digimon's on Saturday. So normally you'd be able to go to both, but now this just might make it slightly more complicated because even if you do find another place, it'd probably be a Saturday sneak peek. Anyway. Duelist Advance is coming out. It's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to the Vanquish Soul cards. Mm-hmm. I think it's like Holy Mary, Vanquish Soul Start, and I forget the name of the other. All about to be a menace, y'all.
We'll just wait for them to get in Master Duel. Oh, Jesus.
I know. I'm excited. A lot of people are talking about, like the Vanquish Soul K9 deck is going to be really good and all this stuff, but I actually have no intention of playing.
You're going to play it pure.
Single K9 card.
I never expected you to play
I will be playing my pure Vanquish Souls, and these people are not ready because they don't understand. They have not
milk an engine.
They have not staked their soul. They have not staked their soul. I think a lot of people are going to pick up Vanquish Soul because it's expected to be popular with K9. But like, I'm one of these people. I was a Vanquish Soul purist. I was playing this deck when it was in the dirt, and I have grinded the weirdest edge case scenarios online and in tournaments and stuff with that deck. It's a great time. I can't wait.
We had like DraftKings and like Sportsbook for Yu-Gi-Oh. Because I would put money on your ability to pilot that Vanquish Soul deck through just about anything.
I enjoy playing Vanquish Souls. It's so much fun. And the new cards do add a lot of much needed consistency and depth to the deck. So, cool.
Like, I'm not looking for any premier strategies out of the archetype, or the set, I mean. I want the new Super Quano cards. Does it make Super Quano great? No. It's just new Super Quanals, and that's all I need. I can't really remember anything else in this that I want.
Yeah, it's outside of that. There really isn't much that I'm looking for either. So I might legitimately just end up ordering the singles if I can't really go to a premiere. So that might be my story with it. We'll see.
Oh, so you're still boycotting TCG Player?
Well, I guess I won't be if I need my singles.
Dang.
That or
Boycott over.
That or I'll get them. I'll get them somewhere.
No, I think the boycott ended because everyone just stopped talking about it. So I'm assuming it ended.
That is how internet things tend to go, huh? Like where just the time kind of ticks, people forget, and like. But I mean, I remember the union did reach an agreement with people, and my understanding is that was kind of what the original intent was to like negotiate with the TCG Player Workers Union, and they did, and I guess it's done now. So
yeah, we won. Capitalism lost.
Something like the thing is they're still moving the office or whatever to where is it, Connecticut or something?
Yeah, Connecticut, somewhere where like they have looser laws that allow them to avoid unions more easily.
I was like, did we really win? Well, anyways, Duelist Advance is coming out, and that's awesome. One last Yu-Gi-Oh thing is that the OCG got a new ban list. I am not going to pretend to really understand any of this.
That's true. I wouldn't even be able to begin to critique an OCG ban
I can't
list.
critique it because I really don't know what's being played, and I don't care. But there's one card that I will talk about because it's sort of interesting.
Did they ban Maxi?
They banned Apollosa, which means that they've now joined the TCG in banning Apollosa. And my hope then is that Master Duel follows suit. Because I really don't think that Apollosa is a very healthy card, I guess, is how I'd put it. I think it's part of the reason why Master Duel has such a pile deck problem and an engine slop problem is because so many decks can kind of just engine slop their way into an Apollosa and then just kind of pivot to the next engine. And it's, it can be kind of tough to interact with. I don't have any other thoughts on the rest of this stuff. I don't think that there's, a lot of people will look at these lists and they'll be like, what are the implications for the TCG? And like that'll be the name of someone's video. And I'm just like, this in particular, I don't play the OCG, so I can't really have an opinion. And it's
I respect that, not having an opinion. There's too many people with opinions on the internet right now.
Yeah. So, here's one last interesting tidbit.
Here comes the opinion.
No, this is not that. Justice Hunters tuck boxes. They're releasing these.
What is a tuck box?
So, what do you think a tuck box is?
A box that you tuck.
Well, it's these boxes that have like 3 packs and in this case, Field Center.
Oh, that's like the special edition box.
Yeah, the little like they do them.
Not a special edition.
They do 4 packs and a token when it's mainline sets, but it seems that with Justice Hunters, since it's a side set, they're doing like 3 packs and you get 1 of 7 collectible.
But it should be more packs if it's
Field
a side set.
Centers. I don't know how much these cost. Because the 4-pack boxes are $18 or they're $17.99 at like Walmart and stuff. I assume then that these hopefully are like maybe like 13, 14. I don't know, something cheaper because
probably the same price.
So yeah, it seems like this might be how Konami is going to sell Justice Hunters if you were to buy it at a Walmart. It will be sort of like that.
When does Justice Hunters come out?
August 1st.
August 1st? Okay.
Yeah.
I can wait. I
can
be patient. I'm not in a hurry.
Here's a quick Yu-Gi-Oh thing I totally forgot to mention, but somebody actually submitted this to us on Twitter. You can follow the Pod of Greed on Twitter. We don't tweet that much, but we'll appreciate a follow.
I don't even have a Twitter anymore.
Anyway, Japanese voice actor Kinjiro Suda, the voice of Seto Kaiba in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime series, recently celebrated his 30th year anniversary as a voice actor.
Okay.
Konami sent in a custom flower bouquet of a special Blue Eyes White Dragon card to Suda's dinner show in celebration. So this is a special Blue Eyes White Dragon.
Yo!
Yeah.
That's sick.
And it's 1 of 1. It's exclusively for him. So that's him, by the way. But yeah, so he's been voice acting for 30 years. And so like they were like, here's your special Blue Eyes. I wonder then if this, like how collectors feel about this 1 of 1 card they'll never be able to get unless they can offer him a gajillion billion dollars.
Well, Paul, you just reminded me of a Yu-Gi-Oh story I'd long forgotten.
Okay.
I say long forgotten. This story is from yesterday, just about.
I'll probably just edit these into the Yu-Gi-Oh part of the podcast.
Fair. Baseball phenom Shohei Ohtani unveils his exclusive Yu-Gi-Oh card featuring his beloved dog, Decoy.
I have not heard of this. What?
Yeah.
I want to see.
So, where is it? Japanese Major League Baseball superstar Shohei Ohtani has revealed a unique collaboration that combines his beloved pet dog Decoy with the renowned Japanese manga and trading card game Yu-Gi-Oh! This special one-of-a-kind card was unveiled through Ohtani's Instagram, where he shared a video opening a mysterious black box from Konami, the creators of Yu-Gi-Oh! Inside the box was a beautifully illustrated card featuring Decoy wearing his LA Dodgers uniform, the same outfit the dog wore when he during the ceremonial first pitch at the August 28, 2024 game against the Orioles. Very specific, but I get it. Here's the picture, Paul. So you can see Decoy and his card.
Oh, that's so cute. I might have seen this, actually. I might have seen this somewhere.
I think there's a closer up picture of the card
So
somewhere.
they turned his dog into a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Yep. Another one of one.
That's awesome. That just looks really nice. Like, imagine that. Just having your pet, like, or just a friend or a close family member just immortalized as a Yu-Gi-Oh card.
That honestly would be sick. I honestly feel like my old dog is now worse in comparison. Like, Blackie, I'm sorry, you're not a Yu-Gi-Oh card. I kind of looking at you sideways now. Like,
yeah, you're not really, I guess, as good of a pet as you thought.
But I guess it also means that maybe I have not done enough with my life. I'm not, one of
Notable
the greatest
enough.
baseball stars on the planet. So I guess I don't get my dog turned into a card. That may be all for Yu-Gi-Oh, but not all for card games.
Okay, what's the card game stuff? I want to get an update from you on Shadowverse, because I know you've been playing a little bit more about it.
Oh no, I've basically not played much more since the last time. I'm gonna try and play more this weekend so I can have a better take on it. But I've been trying to build a deck, but I've been so busy I haven't really finished it.
Yeah, I read some people's comments about the Shadowverse story. There's a little recap. We were talking about how people sort of review bombed this new Shadowverse Worlds Beyond game because apparently the monetization structure is, in some people's view, predatory and unforgiving.
Oh, I did hit. So I remember I was trying to find deck lists to craft my deck around it. The deck I'm building it's an Abyss Craft deck using like these Earth Rune things. And I was looking up deck lists, and after using up pretty much most of the initial wave of like premium currency and like card pulls that you get, I thought that I'd be like pretty much on target with building one of these more like optimal quote unquote decks, and I still needed to pull 2 cards at their highest rarity, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm out
So
of
I guess
pulls,
now
so
you have to...
now I have to play the game.
Well, it's not so bad. I mean, from what I read in the comments, most people, like these are people who actually like played Shadowverse or were fans of it. That was the implication, at least, that I got from the comments. Most people, I saw 2 fairly prevailing narratives. The first was that the monetization compared to the first game is more intense, but in a general sense, it's not that bad.
My understanding was it was more of a trade-off kind of deal where the price per pull is more expensive, but you actually get more currency rewards in this new version of Shadowverse.
And then other people just said that they just felt that it just wasn't that bad. Like, most people in the comments seem to say they found that the knee-jerk reviews were a bit unwarranted and that it, like, isn't that bad. So that's kind of what I read.
I gotta say though, y'all terrifying. Y'all put that game on its last legs immediately. This like review bomb culture we're living in is dangerous. Cause like movies and TV shows aside, I mean they can survive some bad reviews, but in the world of gaming, with how competitive it is to make your way up these like ranking ladders on these app stores and Steam and stuff, when y'all review bomb them the hell like that.
I think it is. I mean, there are some people who feel that review bombing is kind of the equivalent, I guess, and this is making a very generous comparison, the equivalent of, like a protest in real life, like a strike or something. Because it's, people sort of say, like, protests are like sort of the language of people who otherwise really have no power, of the oppressed. Yeah. I think it's maybe stretching it because, I mean, these are all like video games and stuff. People view these as like, we must review bomb this game to let our voices be known that like there's some discontent. And in people's eyes, the only way they know how to do that is to like throw the 1-star reviews at it, and also to maybe even tell your friends to throw some 1-star reviews, and maybe even to make some extra accounts and throw some 1-star reviews. And your thoughts? Sorry.
It's just, you know, with a protest, you can't bot more people to your protest. With a boycott, people typically only boycott things that they use. So, like, hearing that Shadowverse has, like, a bad monetization system and immediately going in to throw a 1-star review, that feels disingenuous because you didn't actually play Shadowverse and you're just hopping in on the trend that you're seeing. But also, I feel like that actually muddies the message a bit because a review bomb is obvious. Like, everyone knows when something's being review bombed. So how should they interpret your message of this review bomb? It's like, oh, they're all saying our monetization practice is terrible, and they went ahead and dropped our score down like 1.7. But given the fact that they're very unfairly reviewing us, we even
how much credence do you really give to reviews that seem like they're kind of so I've got lots of thoughts on that too. There's actually another story later in the pod about some review bombing, but you can probably guess. But I think it's kind of, there's like a hive mind herd mentality that the internet has, that like basically like things live in. All right, I'm going to try to make this. I'll try to make this quick if you feel like I'm going too long.
It's a podcast. This is where you're supposed to get it off.
Okay. So I think there's been a trend in the internet, a kind of rise in reporting on performance of things, like a game, a show, a song, a movie, whatever, like how many downloads it got, how many active players it has, what its current Metacritic score or Rotten Tomatoes score is. Mm-hmm. And you will oftentimes see articles that will present that as kind of, that is the headline. So-and-so show debuts to a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes, or like, you know, Shadowverse Worlds Beyond gets a 1.7 or whatever in the App Store. And people sort of view those success metrics as like the defining factor of whether or not a game is good or bad, or like what should or shouldn't change or have been done differently. And I think that, like you said, it really muddies the waters because there's a crowd of people, like last week we were talking about, you know, the Snyderverse guy on that subreddit who was like, go and review bomb the movie and buy tickets on online sites so people can't buy them. And it's like, that's all kind of just like bad faith stuff. Like, if you were planning to review bomb something, right? Like, movie that is not out yet, show that has not aired yet, game that's like, you know, whatever. And it's just like, you're telling like, Alec, there's a game I don't like, or at least I think I won't like, and you don't care about it, but will you please go and like leave a 1-star, so that way I'll leave one, but it's not enough if I leave one. I gotta like tell you to also leave one, so please just go leave one. Don't ask what game it is, don't ask anything about it, just please leave the 1-star review and then you can go on about your life. And so it's just, you know, it's kind of not coming from a place of honesty. The thing is though, when I was reading people's comments about Shadowverse, I saw valid criticisms that people had, like, hey, I've been playing Shadowverse, I played the first one, I like the game, here's the things that are really cool, but also like maybe they could change it in this way and this way and this way. To me, what it basically amounts to is something more akin to like a 3 or a 4-star review, which I think is actually, if you're a company or a creator or a developer or whatever, that stuff is far more useful to you, right, than a 1-star review that just says like, this sucks because James Gunn directed this movie, or this sucks because like I don't like this actress in it, or just the monetization's evil and I couldn't get a good deck on day one, so it's like a 1-star game.
Because 3-star criticisms or 3-star reviews, those are left by people who actually cared about the thing you made. Those are the ones that are actually worth responding to and like trying to build around, versus 1-star reviews, that's usually someone who is so disgruntled that they want to shout into the void about it. But oftentimes a 1-star review does not have the context needed for developers to actually create an actionable like item from it.
Yeah.
So I don't know, review bombing, it feels like it won't actually achieve the goal unless your goal is just to destroy the game. Because I gotta say, dropping a game's like score down to like a 1.7, that's rough.
Yeah, it's bad, and I get that there's a kind of a culture nowadays of, I don't know if you would describe it as envy or just maybe like kind of some learned bitterness and misery that people kind of have going on, where like, I don't want like anyone to be happy type of thing. Like, just like, if you ruin my like favorite movie franchise or whatever thing, like, just, we're going to review bomb it and like everything's got to burn type of thing, where it isn't particularly helpful because like the thing exists, right? Mm-hmm. This show, it's out. It's already been produced. It has been published, or this movie or this game or whatever. It is far more helpful to say like genuine critiques and feedback and like reasonable things that can be improved, instead of just being like, it is trash, 1 star, like bad. Because I can say from like a content creator's perspective, the comments that I like the most to like read in terms of, improving things are the ones where somebody says what they want improved, as opposed to saying video garbage. Like,
I remember a game that got sunset, Gundam Evolution. This game came out, what was that, 2.5 years ago, 2 or 3? I'm trying to remember now. But Gundam Evolution was this free-to-play hero shooter Gundam game. And I was really excited for it when it was announced. And then it came out. And then I was kind of horrified by quite a few different aspects of the game. And I eventually just stopped playing it altogether, despite being a huge Gundam fan and having a lot of hype for the game's release. I just kind of stopped playing. I was like, oh, this is really not at all what I wanted. Now, I could have like hopped into like Steam and left a 1-star review or do not recommend, this game's horrible. No, but I remember I actually wrote like a what's the option in Steam reviews? I picked like the middle.
Mixed or whatever.
I picked the mixed review option, and I just typed out like, hey, these are the things I liked about the game. There's a lot of elements missing from the game, and I don't care for like the balancing that at the start, in the very first season of the game. And my goal was not for Gundam Evolution to shut down. I wanted them to fix the game. That's why I tried to leave a helpful review. Yeah. But what's going on with Shadowverse, or at least went on, hopefully the review bombing is over, leaving a massive amount of 1-star reviews, that's not going to help the game change. That's likely going to cause like higher ups from, what's that, Cynet? Yeah. I think it's Cynet. I forget their name, but it's Cy something. Cy Games?
Think so.
I think about Cy Games. That's going to cause their higher ups to be like, oh, maybe, we should just shut this thing down. It's already failed. And then you just don't have a Shadowverse game. And that's not a good trade-off.
It's actually, I was going to save this for later in the podcast, but it's actually a pretty good time, too, to just talk about, like, I think that on the internet, there is, I don't know if it's, algorithms, echo chambers, kind of just the general overexposure to each other's opinions and everything. All the above. That has, people almost, I sometimes fear, have almost kind of lost the ability to distinguish, like, mixed reviews from anything else. So, like, last week we talked about solo leveling. And, and so I got a lot of comments that I was reading where, we said, okay, the headline was that solo leveling was the most watched anime on Crunchyroll. And we were saying, oh, that's kind of a surprise given how new that it is and how we watched it and enjoyed it, but didn't think that it was necessarily like most popular anime ever material. And in our critique
Which
of
shouldn't
it,
have been a long shot.
yeah, I don't think that's like a reasonable thing to say. But in our critique of it, we pointed out some issues that we had with it. But we also said that we both watched it and liked things about it. Action scenes, animation, intros and outros were cool, whatever. A lot of stuff like that.
Especially that last outro.
There were comments that I was reading where people are just like, you guys like just don't understand, like you're just hating on Solo Leveling, like you're being haters. And I'm just like, it's strange. And I responded to 2 or 3 of those comments with roughly the same thing, which is just like, so did you just miss the part where we said the good things about it? Like, it's strange because I think that there's a world where reviews and like reception to something can only be hyper positive or hyper negative.
Yeah.
It is a masterpiece or it is a failure. And I think people have been, so I don't, to the people who left those comments, I'm not saying like, oh, you know, you're dumb and you're an idiot for leaving them. I'm saying that like you have to kind of find that there is nuance in between. Like, it's okay to have mixed thoughts on the things that you like. And a person having mixed thoughts on a thing that you have strictly positive thoughts about does not mean that they hate the thing. It is not, you know, an attack on you. Like, I think for some people that they feel that maybe they're used to the world of Twitter and the world of Reddit, where like you have to fiercely defend stances and defend your favorite characters, defend your favorite games. Like, the bad people are coming out to lie about your game and like misrepresent it, and like you got to be there on the front lines to like set them straight.
It's a battle.
And, you know, it's like a battleground. You got your armor, you got your weapons, and like you're ready to like go to bat.
Your weapon is the keyboard, in case you didn't know.
And, you know, that's just not really how it is. Like, I think most people who enjoy, like, who like watch stuff or consume stuff just kind of find themselves somewhere in the shades of gray. Like, I like these things. Maybe these things could have been a little better. Done. Sorry, I know that was a good, you know, that was a ramble, but
I was trying to resist the urge of making an inappropriate joke. I did it though. I succeeded.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, you know, so that's I feel like just when I think of like the review bombing and all that stuff, it's kind of where my head goes, is people kind of feeling like it just, you must be overtly negative to get your point across, or like overtly positive to cancel out the negative or whatever. It's like,
like I think it's a shame though. You know, this is a podcast, so in a sense, this is its own echo chamber. I feel like the vast majority of people listening to us already think that way as well.
I would hope so.
And you know, we have comments like that, so there's like probably like a 1% of our like total viewership probably needed to hear it. But you know, maybe we'll clip this and get it to somebody who needs to hear it.
Hopefully they won't. Maybe they won't listen. I mean, it's like they probably, if it's that type of person, they might not be interested in hearing.
I'll just make the title something inflammatory. They'll comment.
Yeah, then it'll find its way to them. The algorithm will get it there.
Clickbait.
Okay. Well, anyways, that's the Shadowverse update.
More card stuff though.
Okay.
So it's been a while since we had a Pokemon theft story.
I know.
So I
was missing that.
It didn't take long.
Yeah, I was missing that. The podcast needed some Pokemon theft.
So, recordings have been posted online of police arresting an alleged criminal at a trading card show and has been accused of stealing Pokemon TCG cards. So this was at a card convention in Pasadena, that's in California. If I can get the actual article to pull up, because now I can't get the video.
I know what you mean. Sometimes like these things just won't load. I think
I have
some of this pulled up.
It straight up just didn't load the actual.
Oh, okay. I see. Like there's like a Reddit thread.
Yeah. There's a Reddit thread and there's video. And I picked this one up because it's not a very interesting theft story. It's at a trading card game show. They have their booth out, and you can see the police are apprehending this man. He is accused of having stolen cards at either that booth or another booth. And they actually had the police show up and pick this man up.
Wow, that's kind of rare. You don't usually see like a person just catching them.
Just in the act.
So here's what somebody said on Reddit. This is from a mod on the place where this was posted.
Okay.
All right, time to open the floodgates. Details reported by alternate videos are that the guy was spotted swiping low-end cards by a vendor, and when asked, got very defensive. The vendor went to show security to get to the bottom of it. The guy continues to dodge direct questions, but eventually remembers they did swipe some cards. Gets cuffed and hauled out after some resistance.
You remembered he swiped cards?
I guess after being attacked, he suddenly remembered that maybe I did swipe a thing or two. And some vendors go through the bag to recover what was stolen. So, you know, it's important to be watchful at card shows, and people do get caught for things no matter how slick they think they are.
I mean, guys, come on. You got to remember, these vendors are here to make a buck. They're not here to get swindled. If their cards are sitting out in a way that you can take them, they actually know the cards are sitting out in that way. And you might be able to take a card and get away with it. And you might not.
Yeah, this is kind of an open and shut one. I mean, like, don't steal cards. I know that people have many thoughts about vendors and that whole thing, but that doesn't actually, none of those thoughts
like, you
justify
can hate
theft.
Vendors, but those are not your cards. You do not own them. You don't have a right to them. Unless, like, the vendor stole them from you first, but that's a whole other discussion.
Yeah, there'll still be other avenues to address that don't involve stealing. Here's another Pokemon thing, though.
What you got?
Pokemon's adding Mega Evolution, which I remember maybe like I briefly mentioned at some podcast the other week. Earlier
the
this
TCG.
year. Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
They're not introducing Mega Evolution for the first time in Pokemon. It's been years since that happened. Earlier this year, the upcoming Pokemon trading card game Mega Evolution series was announced, with the enchanting Mega Gardevoir EX and the dynamic Mega Lucario EX revealed. Well, today a new trailer was unveiled, today being like a couple days ago, showcasing even more exciting cards that are coming in the series' first expansion, Mega Evolution. So I guess Pokemon didn't have Mega Evolution in the TCG before?
I guess not. Now that I think about it, I've never seen. Wait, no, I could have sworn I saw some type of Mega Evolution mechanic in Pokemon at some point. Look, guys, we don't play Pokemon, so we could just be completely wrong.
Yeah, it's not uncommon for this podcast. But yeah, so basically it's a sneak peek.
I've seen that little like Mega Ball thing. I forget what you call it.
So here's just a short little trailer.
Oh,
And for audio listeners, I guess I'll just sort of describe it. I mean, they're really just
we're
showing
like flying through a city. We got hit by a Lucario.
Yeah, a giant, like a picture of a Mega Lucario EX.
I like Lucario. He's a favorite of mine.
There's a Mega Gardevoir EX art. They're really showcasing the arts in this animated style that reminds me a lot of how like TCG Pocket looks, where the cards are kind of in the setting and then it like...
Because people have fully bought in on just the appearance of Pokemon cards. The art is now way more important.
There's a Mega
than the card
Venusaur,
itself.
Latios,
They
Hariyama,
have mega forms.
Inteleon, Vulpix, and
Vulpix doesn't have a mega form.
whatever that other thing was. Okay, no, these are just actual cards in the set.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, learn more on July 10th. So I guess they'll.
Boy, they make some colorful sets.
I know Pokemon cards are they're vibrant and bright, and they're just all over the place.
They're like, what? So what colors do you want this one to be? All of them. Just all
cards like
colors.
Lily's Determination and Wally's Compassion are some of the new supporter cards that are in the set. So yeah, that's just a quick thing. I mean, like Alex said, we don't really play the TCG, so what this means isn't.
We don't know. We don't even know the difference between a Mega Evolution and a regular evolution. We just two simple folk.
Yeah. Well, anyway, here's some interesting news from GameStop, or rather like an announcement. It's kind of brief and there's not that much to make of it.
Assuming this is something with grading.
So they released this video on Twitter that just said something new is coming, and they have this little promotional video that is like this animated image of like what's called like a push start arcade. And they got their little like rabbit minion mascot guy, and it's like bouncing around outside the shop trying to get inside.
It certainly is.
And that's like really all that they're showing.
Yo, it just like slid down that pole like a certified stripper.
And it's also now like bouncing on some boxes, and it fell over. And now it's like running up to the door, and it says push to start, pull to enter. So, and then it just says
what the
coming
hell
soon.
did that mean?
It's a teaser of some sort that I guess suggests that GameStop's got some announcement coming that they are promising. And do you have any clue what that like could mean?
So push to start, that's like a game console or like a newer car. Those things are typically push to start. Pull to enter, doors, right? That's the only thing I can think of is you pull and enter. That's always through doors. Mixing of cars or consoles and doors. I mean,
I thought arcade. I thought that what it was saying was basically like GameStop's going to be opening up arcades.
So there could be merit to a franchise arcade style situation, but they actually use like consoles, like real consoles and gaming devices, and not just like emulated cabinets.
Because we've read stories in the past on this podcast about like how GameStop, I guess, has like at least considered trying to do
everything.
Yeah, everything really. Considered trying to kind of like bring back gaming lounge type.
They want to do
settings,
cafes,
like gaming cafes.
They'll do the landing situation.
Would you? I know we've, I guess, talked about it. Like it feels like it's like a year or two ago now, but like, would you be? What do you feel if that's what it is? Not saying it is.
If GameStop makes an arcade, I will be there.
Okay. That's interesting coming from you because you're kind of an arcade kid.
Yeah,
but I know you're not too much of like a huge GameStop fan, I guess.
I mean, I used to buy games at GameStop like everybody else. It's just nowadays I rarely have a need to go to GameStop.
Yeah,
but I like arcades.
If it's an arcade, I think that'd be really cool.
Like I go there with my little quarters. They'll actually, with inflation, they'll probably cost you like a.
Well, it won't be your quarters. It'll just be your credit card. And you tap to pay.
Yeah, tap to play.
Although I think that if they do an arcade, it would be just for the immersion's sake. You should like get like a play card. Instead of like,
they need to use tokens so it can emulate quarters. Going into cabinets.
That might be fun.
I think you have to have it, at least in my opinion.
What would be also nice is like there are so many fighting games out now that are popular. Like fighting games are kind of, I would say, picked up in popularity, and like we've got like Marvel Tokon and stuff on the horizon. Having an arcade where like you get some fighting games up there, you get some Mario Kart, and like just kind of let people show up and play, like that might be fun.
I mean, Mario Kart. Like, because Mario Kart really wasn't around for the golden age of arcades, but that would have been a hit.
Yeah, if that's what they're doing, and this is all just speculation and conjecture.
We don't know things.
You know, hey, GameStop, sponsor me, fly me out to one. I'll take anything at this point.
GameStop, my pockets are empty.
No, but more importantly, I would go. I would try to at least see what it's about. I know people have obviously very mixed views on GameStop, the company. As I've expressed before,
nobody can say they're not trying.
Yeah, I think that they are trying to stay afloat by whatever means necessary.
Trenches.
They've been doing. I remember when they first started buying and selling like phones. This was like in the early 2010s when they kind of first got into that.
I do vaguely remember that.
And then it's since just expanded to kind of trying to do a little bit of everything,
retro game consoles, merchandise.
Yeah, lots of the Funko walls.
You name it.
The infamous GameStop Funko walls. When I was at GameStop recently, they had manga.
They'll sell you anything. At this point, you can buy your groceries there. They're like, look, you need some fruits, you need some vegetables, we got it in the back. Like,
and then obviously like, PSA grading, which I had a pretty good experience doing my PSA grades there. Like I'm actually
gonna get a couple cards graded soon.
You ought to. It's
not from GameStop, and they won't be PSA grades, but
Wait, who would it be?
It's gonna be some Digimon cards, and I think the place I want to get it graded by is Tag Grading.
What is Tag Grading? I've never heard of that.
So a friend of mine got a Digimon card graded by Tag, and it kind of caught my eye and my attention just because it felt more modern than PSA's graded slabs. I'll show you a picture right here. Oh. So they're these kind of transparent slabs.
I've heard of this.
They have their own scoring system. They scan your card like to high detail, and you get a QR code with your slab. It's actually on your slab where anyone can scan that QR code. They can immediately get brought up to their first party scan of your card. You can see every imperfection, everything about your card.
That is very futuristic.
It's really nice, and I think the slabs look really cool. So that's who I want my cards graded by.
Well, thanks for making me feel stupid for using PSA.
I only learned about Tag recently.
No, I think that's actually really cool. I think that PSA should adopt that, if we're being honest, because I don't even know that they scan. I've heard that they just kind of like do the whole inspect by hand thing, and some people have qualms with that because there's kind of more like a human error that could enter the equation. But I think that them using QR codes would be a great advancement.
I don't know a lot about PSA, but it feels like they coast more on legacy and name recognition than anything else.
Yeah, they're trusted and all that.
You know, they're big in the field. I get it.
But the tag thing looks cool, and I do like that clear case situation.
Yeah, I think it's cool. So I might as well just say it. So I have 3 like golden Mastermind cards in Digimon. You've seen them, Paul. Mm-hmm. At one point they were all like 300 plus a pop. Now they're all worth probably just over 100. So they're not worth as much. And I got new Mastermind cards for that deck, so I don't really run them anymore. And they could just rot in my binder, or I could find out which one has the highest grade.
True. Well, here's another Magic the Gathering story. Just speaking of card games, even though it feels like we've kind of gone all over the place. But
we jump around a lot.
I saw this post that you added. Wizards of the Coast announces 2 new Magic the Gathering Commander formats.
Yes, I did want to talk about
Tell me
this.
about it. Let's hear it.
So there's 2 new formats, and I don't know if I care for them.
They say they can be scheduled for Wizards Play Network in-store play soon.
So the first one is, do they have a name for it? I don't see a name for this mode.
Commander Box League.
Yeah, okay. Commander Box League. Each player buys a single play booster box. That's not a pack. That's the entire box.
Yeah, not a collector booster, thank God.
But
imagine a collector booster box.
But you know how much
everyone pay $800.
But you know how much a booster box of the Final Fantasy set costs? Not fun.
Okay.
Anyway, each player buys a single play booster box, chooses a commander from the box, and constructs a 60-card commander deck out of the cards found in the box. Basic lands can be added into the pool. Decks can contain more than one copy of a single card, so it's already not commander. The chosen commander's color identity doesn't apply to deck construction, so now it's really not commander. Anything found in the play booster box can be played, including the box topper. Players then use this booster box to play league games that occur in 4-person pods, like normal commander games.
Okay. All right, so let's break this one down before we even get into the second one.
Yeah, that's fair. So
basically they're just saying, go to your local card shop, buy a box, make a commander deck out of it.
Yes.
And we are not going to limit the color selection, which
there's virtually no limit.
Yeah, it kind of makes sense, I guess, because if you're buying a box, they understand that there might be some difficulties with sticking strictly to the color or whatever.
Right.
And also, you're not Highlander locked, so you can use multiples. That to me seems a little bit it's just not really commander.
No, I mean, if you're not actually locked into your commander's identity and you're not playing in a singleton manner, it's really not commander. But I think this is their answer to an ongoing problem with Magic the Gathering, that these sets just sit on shelves.
Yeah, they're trying to really get them sold. And I think Magic, it's interesting because they used to have draft boosters, didn't they?
They did have draft
boosters. And they
booster
kind of cut them out of the picture because they weren't
booster
selling.
Boxes would sit.
My understanding of it, and this is just from some of the Magic players that I know, was they said they would typically you kind of convince your shop to maybe do a draft day, and that's when people would buy the draft boosters. Mm-hmm. And any other time they wouldn't, because there would be no reason for a single, generally speaking, there would be no reason for a single person to just buy a draft booster for themselves. You would have to have the planned event where people will be there, and So I think that's why Wizards kind of cut them out of that. It seems like this is an attempt at basically turning a play booster into a draft event, but with maybe, I guess, these loosened commander rules makes it maybe more enticing.
When they announced the play booster, they did say the play booster is supposed to be a draftable set.
That's true. I remember that.
That is just that
people probably still weren't actually doing it.
Yeah, it still kind of killed the interest in draft. Some people still do it, but not everybody. And, usually when you draft a set, everyone's drafting from the same set. And that can cause an issue when you can't get the set. Like the Final Fantasy set that sells out over and over and over again.
Yes, this is maybe something that you can more easily do with, I guess, mainline Magic sets where they're not going to be just completely gone. But obviously, I guess with like a new thing that's a Universes Beyond, it might be a little tougher to do.
Now, I actually don't know. I thought about this. They don't actually say all the players have to buy the same box.
That's true. It seems to suggest that I can buy. I'm trying to think of the name of a Magic set. Outlaws of Thunder Junction.
Hey, look at you!
That's something I remember. And you can buy Murders at Markardov Manor or whatever.
Oh, that was close. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
Okay, so what's the second format?
The second Commander format made available for WMPN is Two-Headed Giant. This format is a 2-on-2 format and operates much like it does for the non-Commander version of the format. Players pair up in teams of 2 and share life totals, spells, and strategy in an effort to defeat the other team. So it's 2-on-2 Commander. That's the long and short of it.
So I'm going to just go out on a limb here and assume this probably already existed in a fan capacity, and
I'm sure someone's done it.
And now they're just sort of formalizing it more.
Yeah, I don't mind these new formats simply because your shop can simply decide if we want to run an event like this. You're not forced into it. It can be something you run when you're like burned out of whatever formats you normally play. So there's no harm in it. It's just that first one, I just have some serious.
So it sounds to me as though you are. I have a quick thought on the 2v2 one.
Okay.
This seems like a direct response to things like Gundam that are launching with tag formats basically out the box. It makes me think that, Wizards are, I will give them credit, they are at least thinking about gameplay and players. It has felt like with so much of the recent Magic the Gathering news, this is coming from an outsider who does not play, so feel free to correct me on this. But it's felt like as an outsider, so much more of the conversation around Magic lately has been Universes Beyond and like availability issues.
Right.
And like, I can't get this set. MSRPs are going up. I can't pre-order something, this, that, and the other. This is nice to read because much like when they kind of made the Commander Committee or whatever it's called with like the 5 tiers of play, this feels like something that is actually concentrated on player experience and like formats and playability stuff as opposed to just like, here's a new thing you need to buy for $1 bajillion.
Well, I mean, you have to buy at least for the first format.
Yeah, that's what I was going to get to. It is convenient that first one seems like it's all about kind of getting stuff off shelves, but at least it is centered on a play experience.
But can you... But think about it. Think about this play experience we're talking about here. In old Magic Draft, you bought one draft booster box,
and that was intended
the entire
for like, the
group played it.
Okay.
In this case, each player buys a box.
Yeah, that's asking for a lot.
Golly.
No,
the buy-in is crazy.
Now, if what you're saying is true, and it's I can buy Outlaws of Thunder Junction, you can buy whatever Karlov Manor.
Yes, yeah.
Maybe the assumption is that like these are cheap old boxes the shop can get rid of.
Boy, it ain't that cheap.
And so maybe they're selling them like at something of a discount. Maybe there could even be an incentive for a local
price.
Well, remember, Alec, that was back when they didn't have MSRPs. But maybe the shop could be incentivized to sell these boxes at something of a discount in order to, stimulate people doing this at all. Because, I'll cut the shit. You're right. Like this is a tough sell. Like asking people to just buy boxes.
That's such a big buy.
But like the only way I can see them doing anything, like making this really get off the ground, is either A, you just have, I guess it's played by your most affluent players who can just conveniently afford to buy a box every week or something. Or you have to have some older boxes that aren't selling and you maybe do a deep discount and you turn it into an event. So that way people, so the example would be like with Yu-Gi-Oh, right? There's like those shitty little sets like Ancient Guardians and like Duelist, Genesis, or whatever, the little shitty stuff they were giving prizes for at YCS Houston when I was at that. Like just Genesis Impact and those sorts of packs. They're old, all the stuff's been long reprinted or power crept, and they literally cannot get these packs away any other way than like making them be the prizing entry packs for like a public event. It's garbage. They're selling you that stuff for $5 a piece. It's a scam. But if maybe they did a thing where like I can buy a Genesis Impact box for $20 and you can buy an Ancient Guardians box for $20, it's still not worth it at that price. But if maybe that's, what it was, and then we do like a little draft tournament with that, basically turn it into an APS video of sorts.
Nobody would ever sell you them for that price.
Maybe I am trying my best to give these people the benefit of the doubt here. Go on. That's all.
Look, I know this is a plan for this format's success, but that really requires buy-in from the shop themselves. And from what I've, I don't like talking ill of like card shop owners and the people who run them. I haven't seen a card shop owner ready to make that sort of sacrifice. I just haven't seen it.
I'm more intrigued by the 2v2 thing. I wonder if, I feel like that's something that can actually get off the ground more readily, because like you can just do 2v2 without having to buy anything.
Yeah, I mean, people already play in 4-person pods, so.
Yeah, so just adding a bit of a formality to it.
Team up. Now nobody can get like ganged up on because it's 2-on-2. It's even. Hell, we might try that next time I play Commander.
Yeah, like that could be neat. Okay, so that's, I guess, the Magic stuff. Fun. Oh, wait, actually, there's another Magic story.
Yep.
Let's hear it.
So remember the Magic the Gathering movie?
I do.
Well, now we know who's writing it. It is Noah Gardner and Aidan Fitzgerald. They will write the live-action Magic the Gathering movie for Legendary Entertainment and Hasbro Entertainment. And that's still kind of all we know.
Okay, so like, what if they... Okay, previously working with Hasbro as the writers for a Power Rangers movie, and they worked on an Aquaman spinoff called The Trench for Warner Bros. Pictures. I was trying to see like kind of what their past work is. I mean, I don't have a lot to say about this Magic movie because I barely even know about Magic's lore.
And well, we don't really know what the movie's about.
And I don't know what these people's...
And like, remember, they're being hired to write it, which means even Hasbro doesn't know what it's about.
I mean, you know what's interesting about a Magic movie? And I think I may have asked this before. Do people care about Magic's lore?
There you go again, trying to get flamed in the comments.
Well, no. Sorry, you're right. Here's a better way to put that. Because I was asking that as like a leading question to get to this point. So much of Magic's recent boon in popularity is due to its collabs.
Yes,
that is getting a lot of new faces on the brand, new eyes on the brand, new scalpers on the brand, everything.
Right.
I wonder of that crowd of people, how many of them would be very interested in a like movie that is about Magic's lore and world.
It strictly depends on if they bought the next set after whatever Universes Beyond set they were interested in.
I am inclined to think that the interest in this would be relatively low. However, I know that the Dungeons and Dragons movie, wasn't it? The D&D movie was
Did that happen?
Yeah, that happened, and it was pretty popular.
That does sound familiar.
Like people said that was a good one. I think Alex watched it and he liked it. I think he did. Well, either way, I remember hearing pretty good things about that movie. So
Minecraft movie was huge.
So like there could be something here. It is a brand that is basically associated with a bunch of millennials. And like we are known for kind of going to the movies and watching our childhood stuff back. I just don't know if like people would view Magic the Gathering as like their childhood per se, but
I mean,
maybe.
Somebody was a child playing Magic. We didn't all just start old. I mean, I did, but like I don't know if everyone just was like magically old. That look.
It always felt like that to me when I was a Yu-Gi-Oh player. Like when I was like, we're talking when I was like 14, 15 and I was first going to card shops. I always felt like the Magic players were just always old. Like they always just seemed like they were like,
because you were young.
Well, I'll tread lightly when I say this. It might have something to do with the demographic or kind of the way that people the dress, the body language. But I always got the
they all look like Santa Claus.
I always got the impression that they were like people who were in their late 20s at the youngest. However,
you could be a child in your late 20s.
However, I'm not going to judge any more than that. Okay, cool. Well, hopefully the Magic the Gathering movie is good. Will you be lining up to see it in the theaters?
Will I be lining up? No, I'll just show up on time and walk right in.
Okay.
Fortnite players are being sent money thanks to Epic Games.
Oh, how do I get some?
Well, you're not a Fortnite player, so
I can download it.
So
I mean,
it says some Fortnite players just got a surprise PayPal deposit. Spoiler, it's not V-Bucks, it's actual money. Back in 2022, the FTC sued Epic Games over shady design choices.
I remember this.
The FTC accused Epic of using dark patterns to trick players, especially kids, into making accidental purchases.
I like the use of the term dark patterns.
Dark patterns. Epic also let kids spend freely without adult approval and punished users who dared to dispute charges. If your kid went rogue with your credit card and you tried to fix it, Epic might have locked your account. As part of a $245 million settlement, Epic agreed to pay up. Fast forward to June 2025. Over $126 million just landed in nearly a million PayPal accounts. Well, wait a minute. If that's a $126 million and that's a million PayPal accounts,
Yeah, basically everybody got like what, $12?
like, on average, like. Anyway, it says the FTC has been busy sending nearly $200 million total to eligible claimants. If you bought unwanted Fortnite junk between 2017 and 2022, or your kid did, there's still time. The refund deadline is now July 9th, 2025. It says
Claims are being paid via PayPal or check. No, Epic Games is not doing this out of generosity. The FTC is handling it. So people can get different amounts based on how much you lost.
yes,
Interesting.
because like that's dangerous. Because I spent a stupid amount of money in Fortnite over the years.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. So does
I'm gonna charge back everything.
So, like,
wipe my account.
should you, like, Alec, since you've been playing Fortnite a little while and probably spending a little money,
A little.
should you go and like maybe apply for this and see how much you get? Just claim everything that you bought you didn't intend to buy. I mean, I'm sure you can't do that. I'm sure there's some limit, but like
I really could just charge back every skin and emote I ultimately didn't end up liking, because my Fortnite account is like huge. I have so many skins and emotes, I cannot use them all, and this is a chance I can purge my account. Just get rid of all the stuff I don't want.
yeah, I mean, I wonder if is it even that you like, do you get to keep this stuff? It looks like you probably do.
I mean, they keep calling it a refund, so I assume these digital assets would have to somehow be up for like removal from your account. So I'll have to check that out.
It sounds like somebody made $470.
Hey man, I could use an extra $470. Tell you the truth.
Yeah, like that's interesting. I guess they're paying out here. Well,
July 9th's a deadline. You best believe I'm looking at this.
well, for those of you viewers who are Fortniters,
It's like I've said all pod. My pockets are empty. FTC, pay up.
well, here's a little quick interesting one. Did you know that the Mobile Suit Gundam, or one of the Mobile Suit
Yes.
Gundam creators, okay, Yoshiyuki Tomino wants his next project to confront modern conflicts.
You know what? I did see a headline about this.
Yeah, so as Mobile Suit Gundam celebrates its 45th anniversary, its legendary creator Yoshiyuki Tomino isn't dwelling on nostalgia. He's thinking about the wars being fought today. It's interesting that we talk about this story now because last week on the pod, I wore my 45th anniversary Gundam t-shirt. I should have worn it this time.
You sure did.
You say that as if you remember, but I know you don't remember.
I don't. Not even slightly.
Well, anyway, in a recent interview aired on Japan's News Watch 9, this is on June 17th, Tomino reflected on his wartime childhood and how it shaped Gundam's foundations. The segment was part of a special broadcast commemorating the 80th anniversary of the end of World War II. So he recalled...
was very young, right?
Must have been. He recalled how, as a child, he fled bombings during World War II with only a handful of picture books. His house was the furthest from the local shelter, and by the time his family arrived, they could only find space near the unprotected entrance. That sounds terrifying. At that time, I didn't understand what war was, but I remember the fear. It wasn't until adulthood that Tomino understood why the U.S. military targeted his hometown. Looking at the batteries piled up in the area, I realized they were military goods. War is not just fighting, it's industry, logistics, and production. These realizations would become fundamental to Gundam's depiction of mechanized warfare as part of a larger system, not just one-on-one battles. Which is so true because pretty much every Gundam series is oftentimes less about, it's about the wars. It's oftentimes about like war profiteers and like people producing weapons.
They typically get much deeper than like the one-on-one mobile suit conflicts that you see. Though in this latest Gundam,
G-Quacks.
it's a little different.
Well, in the interview, he criticized the current perception of Gundam as merely a cool action series. He says, when people say they like Gundam, they often talk about the mobile suits and battles, but that's not what it was meant to be about, he said. He also expressed concern that many modern creators working on Gundam lack a direct connection to war.
Oh, God.
I mean, that's a heavy thing to say.
Uh-oh.
You can't recreate the reality of conflict if you've never truly felt its weight. While Tomino acknowledged that his younger colleagues are doing their best, he questioned whether it's possible to teach the gravity of war to a generation that was raised in peace. Still, he remains hopeful about creating something new. He says, the wars in Ukraine and Israel have continued for years, but we still don't really understand them. I want to explore whether humanity can break this cycle. Can we choose another path?
Boy, he sounds like a protagonist.
Yeah, he hinted that his next project might attempt to confront these questions head on. He didn't specify if it would be part of the Gundam franchise, but the theme is clear. It's not just about robots, it's about us.
I'm not gonna look. I'll get some hate for it. It just feels like Tomino wants to make Gundam boring again.
Boring? Okay.
Because a lot of people's criticism. I mean, I said that, guys, but remember, I'm actually a huge Gundam fan, way bigger than you could probably imagine. So the boring parts of Gundam are also my favorite parts of Gundam. But anyway, a lot of people's criticisms of Gundam and the Gundam universe as a whole were the non-action sequences, the politics, the bureaucracy, how muddy the plot lines could get in a Gundam series. So for a lot of people, that was a turn off. They just want to see big mecha battles. And that's never been the focus of the Mobile Suit Gundam franchise. And Tomino sounds like he wants a return to form and to even double down on such things, which I am personally excited for. But I know for a fact, if he does that, we're going to lose some people. There's only two people on this planet that can lecture me about Gundam. It's one, Tomino himself, and two, that guy who re-educated me on Mobile Suit Gundam and Amuro Ray, and I had to re-watch the series and reevaluate my opinions about it. That's the only two people. I do not care what anyone has to say about Gundam if it's criticizing my takes.
So you think this would be you'd probably like to maybe see a future Gundam that...
I cannot wait for it. It could be a bit of a mess. Tomino's works are not always easy to follow, and there are some I still ponder to this day. I still call them some of my favorites, but my God, do I not always get it.
Which ones?
Oh my God.
Just name them. You don't have to go into detail. Let the people, just keep it ambiguous for the people to figure out. Or you can explain if you want. I mean, I don't really.
Let me see. Let me make sure I get the name right.
Well, while you're looking that up, I'll just say that I think it's probably... I like works that are based in kind of the heft of reality.
Okay, I have to get that name right. Requaguista and G.
Okay.
My God, G Reco is one of the most visually interesting Gundams, and the characters aren't bad, but my God, was the plot not well explained.
Yeah, I mean, I think that shows that kind of are based in reality, or just based on the feelings and experiences of reality, tend to be I tend to enjoy them. I know that a really good example that not that many people knew about in America, but that was pretty prevalent in Japan, was Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire and their story about environmentalism. As a kid, you just think two enemy teams, somebody wants to flood the world, somebody wants to burn the place up.
Hey, makes sense.
And it makes sense, and it's a giant red kaiju legendary and a blue whale, and they're having conflicts. But it was actually about the state of Japan at the time, where there was a further push towards industrialism, and coastal cities were, things was erosion and stuff in coastal cities and stuff like that.
From a coastal city, I know.
Yeah, so stuff like that was kind of the inspiration for Ruby and Sapphire. It's obviously softened a lot. It's a kid's game. But I do like when people writing stories for these games or movies or shows, animes, whatever, kind of are pulling from a real learned experience. As of watching some of the more recent Gundam shows, I do think that maybe they have gotten away from, I guess, the effects of war as the centerpiece of the stories.
And it's time for Tamino to get in his bag again and to confuse a generation.
Yeah, it sounds like yeah. All right, well, here's our last story. Maybe, unless you have another one, I don't know. This one is about the newest MCU show, Ironheart.
Oh, we watched the first 2 episodes of that.
Yeah, we watched the first couple episodes. We still need to finish the third one, which I guess maybe we can watch after this podcast, if you people would just let us go from our captivity for a while. Anyway, Ironheart's Rotten Tomatoes audience score hits 32% thanks to review bombing hours before it premieres.
Yeah, bro, I saw that. I was literally scrolling like 30 minutes before the premiere came on, and it already had bottomed out on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, how?
Yeah, so this is kind of similar to what we were talking about earlier today about how, like, people review bomb things. I truly do not. I mean, we've kind of made our thoughts on review bombing known.
Facts.
So I'll just approach this from the perspective of, like, an MCU enjoyer.
Paul's like the biggest MCU fan you'll ever meet.
Well, Chris is the biggest MCU fan I'll ever meet.
That's true.
He sent me this article. I've watched the first few episodes of Ironheart. I've been enjoying it. I think that, the production value seems really high, and I have not really found anything to criticize in the first couple episodes I've seen. I know that people are leaving negative reviews on this for many reasons. Some people just hate Marvel in general. Some people hate the idea of, like, a black character taking on the mantle of Iron Man. Some people hate women. Some people will claim that it's something else. I don't know. But I just think that if you do not have any intention of watching the show, then just don't leave a review and just ignore it.
I feel like review bombing is spurred by these aggregator sites like Metacritic, because like the whole Metacritic kind of devalues individual reviews by trying to aggregate like all the reviews in one place.
Would you say that maybe even encourages the idea of bombing
because if you're devaluing all critics to the point when there's not much difference between a professional critic's review and just a random 1-star review.
Well, I mean, they distinguish audience score and professional critic score. But your point still stands.
They put them on the same level.
Yeah, they display both.
They grab as many as they possibly can without really vetting them. And so as long as you do that, I think you're essentially pushing people to review bomb. Oh, reviews don't mean anything. You don't have to say anything worthwhile. You can just give it a 1-star and say it's garbage and move on.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying. That's a great point. I hadn't fully considered that because basically when you're doing an aggregation system, people kind of learn that the only way to make an impact is to pull the aggregate score low, and like your single review won't do that. But if you can, kind of plan with a bunch of people on a subreddit or a Discord or like buy some bots or whatever to like review bomb something to force that score down because one person alone can't, then it is sort of in a sense encouraging that sort of behavior.
I feel really bad for like professional like critics. I guess it's really hard to be a professional critic nowadays because everybody and their mother they think their opinion is equal to yours despite having refined your opinion over years of studying the craft and then learning how to more eloquently put your opinion into words. These yahoos on Twitter are just like 1-star trash, 1-star like go broke. Like,
and the thing is, I guess the best way I can put it is this: it's all right to dislike a thing. I think we've made that
you watched.
Yeah. I think we've made that point quite clear. If you watch something and you just really don't like it and you leave a bad review, that's all right.
If you think your wife is worse off for it, sure, give it a 1-star.
Did you say your wife or your life?
I meant to say life, not wife.
Oh, okay.
It might have came out that way. I don't have a speech impediment, but sometimes.
Yeah, but it's just that like these were all left before the show premiered. Like people, so it's just like, how does a show have 32% when like no one's been able to watch?
Not a single good faith review.
So it's just like that, to me, that's like proof that it's just a bad faith review. And I know some people, I guess you're a snarky person, you might say, oh, well, I can just wait until the show comes out and then drop my review bomb. But the point I'm trying to really make here is, I think if you are against everything that a given show represents, and this is not about Ironheart specifically, this is like the new Superman movie, the Assassin's Creed game this year, whatever other thing.
Shadowverse.
If you're against just the mere existence of it, ignore it. Just don't consume it. I know that so much of the internet has kind of pushed people to feel that, you know, if a tree drops in a forest, it didn't really drop if no one heard it type of thing. Mm-hmm. Like, I need to let the world know that I don't like this thing. I need to like say that I don't like it. But it's okay to simply not engage with it. If you don't engage with it, you will actually, in effect, harm it in the sense that like you're one less person engaging. And so maybe that accomplishes your goal, fine. But I think it's just this whole like, I must show that I hate it and I'm not going to watch it by just leaving it a 1 star or whatever. And then like, like laughing gleefully as like a headline says that, oh, look, it was such a failure. It got a, 15% or something on Metacritic. It's like, watch it and like form that opinion for yourself. And you know what the really sucky part about all this is?
What's that?
You can play around with semantics all you want, but I guarantee you.
I never play with semantics.
I guarantee you, any of these people who leave these review bombs on any of these games and movies and things, if they actually watch these shows, I think they would actually have a very tough time leaving in good faith just like a 1 out of 100 review or something. Because what you find out is that if you watch this show, let's say you don't like the concept of Ironheart, you don't like Dominique Thorne, you don't like the MCU right now, and you think it's a whole big mess. If you watch the first episode from start to finish and find that you don't like it, I still don't think that you would actually think of it as a 1-star show. I think you'd probably end up landing on like a 3-star.
I feel like a 1-star show induces vomiting as you watch it.
Yeah, it just feels like I literally could not finish this. It was so awful. I made it 10 seconds in and I just had to cry. But because when you watch something that is made by people, like there were so many people who worked on this, like there's cinematography, there's like acting, there's effects, there's writing. I think that like some of the, call me cheesy for this, I think that some of the inherent human empathy receptor kicks in and you'll just find yourself thinking, this really isn't that bad. Even if it's not for me, it's just not that bad. Like it's just a show.
Yeah, like even the worst movie that I remember seeing, Spider-Woman, is still like a 10.
Wait, what? Spider-Woman?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, my bad. Madam Web.
Okay.
I don't know why I call it Spider-Woman.
I guess it didn't leave much of an impact.
It didn't.
No, but I know what you mean. Like even with like Madam Web, a movie that I think was like pretty atrociously.
Oh, just to be clear, not a 10 out of 10, 10 out of 100.
Yeah. Madam Web is a movie I thought was atrociously bad. However, I did watch it and there were parts where I was like, this is kind of getting me somewhere. Like I feel like there's some potential. It just hasn't really taken off. And then yes, the movie ended up just not really being to my taste. But
boy, by the end of it, I was happy to leave that theater.
But like while I was watching, there were parts where I was kind of interested. And so for me, I can never just say it was like a 1 out of 100 review. I just think it was like maybe it's like you said what, a 10 out of 100?
I tried to give it a 20 in my mind and I couldn't do it.
Yeah, like because I don't think that this whole like it's a 0, whatever. People like worked on it. Anyway, to get back to the point though, people have review bombed this show and that's unfortunate. Because we've watched it and I think it's all right. So,
but just
pretty good even.
Opinions, and nobody's opinion matters more than any others except we're kind of the only podcast on the internet.
Yeah, that is true. So our opinions are basically, they reflect the reality.
They're also law.
Yeah.
And if you have a different opinion, you're breaking the law. And that means you will not get your question read at the end of today's episode.
Which we're going to get into right now. Thank you all for leaving viewer questions. We always enjoy that. We've got a lot of fun responses to get to today.
And remember, Guy, we know who you are. You said that. We are not reading that here because we don't get it.
Okay. So here's the first question. This is, of course, a Yu-Gi-Oh related one.
Okay.
Would you change anything about Yu-Gi-Oh's life point system? And if you would, what would you change and why? So I guess this person, I'm just going to go out on a limb here and is assuming like, there's kind of the whole like life points don't matter in Yu-Gi-Oh thing.
Right.
That's a common sentiment. Is there any way that we could mechanically, fundamentally maybe change life points so as to make them matter more, better improve them?
So I don't think I can fix the only life point that matters rule being the one. I don't think I can change that because that's kind of true for just about any game with like a life counter or system. As long as you have any life, you can still win the game, so it kind of doesn't matter. What I would change, and it pains me to say this because this is Yu-Gi-Oh Legacy here. I would knock them three zeros off.
Oh yeah, you're talking about like why is it like thousands instead of?
Yeah, why not just make it 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 through 8.
I mean, I guess it allows the nuances in like different monsters' attack strength.
Okay, then let's add 1 0.
No, yeah, that I can get on board with.
Like I know, like the majesty of Blue Eyes' 3,000 attack is lost. It's just the 1,000 feels
excessive,
unnecessary. When I compare it to a lot of other card games, and not every card game does this, but there are a lot of card games where numbers never get higher than 20.
I think that's interesting. I mean, I don't have a problem with it being 8,000. If I was to make like a mechanical change just today, there's 2 things that come to mind for me.
What you got?
I think that it's going to sound cliche, but I kind of think that the life points should just be 10,000 instead of 8,000. I never really understood where they landed at 8,000.
I think they just wanted to double 4,000.
I mean, I don't know where they came with 4,000. Like I think
they doubled 2,000.
I think 10 would be like a good round number. But the mechanical reason for that, outside of just maybe being a little cleaner, is every deck now can put up 8,000 points of damage. Like that's as card design kind of power creep and archetype design works these days. If I ever have to, like, let's say I go first and I have to pass my turn because I bricked, the deck that I'm facing, like your deck, can probably just put up 8,000. It just can. Like most decks can do that. And so I think that like maybe having a 10,000 could address that a little bit.
That's more of like a functional change. That way, because it'll change the outcome of a lot of games just by increasing the upper limit of life points.
Yeah, the idea, I guess, being that maybe it, kind of like squeezes an extra turn of play out.
And we know how explosive 1 turn can be in Yu-Gi-Oh.
So like there's that. My second thought though is what you said was it's pretty tough to make that extra life. Like every game kind of to some degree has the only point that matters is your last thing.
Yeah.
I think it's more visible in Yu-Gi-Oh, but like every game kind of has it. Something that would be kind of cool though might be basically tying your life points into costs for playing effects more. Like, yes, there are things like brain control, pay 800. But if just like summoning cost you your life points, just period.
That'd be funny.
Like fundamentally.
That would actually be
There
funny.
could be something really interesting
what
there.
If every summon costs life points?
Yeah.
And like a hefty little chunk. 500 per summon.
Yeah. Or maybe like the only free summon is your normal summon. That's the only free summon you get. Any special summon's 500. Because
what if you had unlimited special summons as long as you could pay? No, that would be obscene.
Yeah, that might just
never mind.
But I mean, like,
obscene.
I do think that's. I don't have like an exact sort of thing on it, but like I just think playing around with that could be really interesting because I think that like, much like how I remember when Mystic Mine was a card, and people were like, "How can we? Would there be any way of balancing Mystic Mine?" No one ever had a great consensus because it's not like we'll ever know. It's just banned now. The thing is, though, I always thought Mystic Mine would be really interesting if like there was just like a 1,000 life points per turn like maintenance cost on it. It slows the game to a crawl. It's a kind of difficult card to out, and like most decks at the time, like couldn't really do anything about it. But if you had to lose 1,000 each turn, then there is a clock on it. Your opponent can just choose to wait that out. And I thought that was kind of interesting. So it made me think like, for summons, Yu-Gi-Oh sort of has what some would call a special summoning problem. Like there's just too many maybe. So if you had to just pay 500, you said 500, right?
Yeah,
like
500.
For any special summon, because it's called special summon or whatever. Suddenly, like the idea of comboing for 10 years is not
Ooh,
attractive.
Paul, I smell our next duel challenge.
I know. Play some modern decks where you gotta pay?
Yep.
Gotta pay. That sounds fun. Keep that in mind. That's a good one. Okay. Here is the next question.
Question dos.
I remember a while ago you guys were asked about card game reboots. However, what always bothered me is that you suck. No, is that you only seem to talk about reboots of card games that are still ongoing. What about ones that are officially dead and discontinued, like Dinosaur King, Huntic, Luck and Logic, Buddy Fight, etc.?
Buddy Fight was a reboot?
Or I guess Buddy Fight is dead and this person's
getting
suggesting-
reboots for these games.
Yeah,
Okay,
these games that are just officially dead. Because I guess when people ask us about like, oh, what deserves a reboot, we'll just say, oh, well, Yu-Gi-Oh needs a reboot, but Yu-Gi-Oh's still ongoing.
Yu-Gi-Oh needs a reboot. Like a
But
broken
or even
record.
like a freaking broken record this podcast is, or even like Cardfight Vanguard. It's got like overdress and stuff.
Man, they always reboot.
But this person is saying these games and
Rebooting old dead games. I get it.
I've never heard of Dinosaur King. I've never heard of Huntic. So this
Because
one's all
your
you.
life was wrong. You know that theme song? Dinosaur King is your destiny. Yeah. See,
I don't.
That's what's wrong with you right
I
now.
don't know shit.
So one, I think the card game space is way too dense to just bring back properties that have already quote unquote failed. But let's pretend like that's not, this market is not a factor. I think every dead card game should at least try to reboot digitally. I think there's a lot of logistics you can dodge with a digital card game. You can tap into just about everybody who loved the original property digitally versus physically, since there are physical constraints. But when it comes to the people's digital reach, if I want to play a particular game, if it exists on the internet, I can get to it. So I don't know. I would do digital reboots for dead games, and they don't have to be huge. Because for a lot of times, people just want to relive those games. They may not necessarily want the game to be back brand new and trying to like take over the TCG space. Sometimes they just want to relive what they already had. So just getting like a simple simulator online with some type of a monetization feature so that it can actually prolong itself, I think that could work. It couldn't be ambitious. It could not be a very ambitious project. And it shouldn't be, because in this market, it would probably just die again. So it needs to be like more of a passion project. That's my thoughts.
I agree. Yeah, I mean, so I can't speak from experience, given that I have not played like any of the games mentioned in this question. I've pretty much just been like a little Yu-Gi-Oh slut my whole life. But
man, they should bring back Chaotic.
I know I've heard a lot about Chaotic versus system. I know people talked about that. Alec was like, no. Yeah, so Duel Masters. I think people
Duel Masters already had a reboot, so I think it's unfair to get another one.
But I like your idea of basically, taking these games and just making a digital sim for them that is like official, and the sim it plays it pretty close to the ground. It is not trying to be the next huge big thing. It is simply a reboot that fans of it can play. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the best middle ground, because you are a billion percent right.
That's rare.
That it's just tough to like release a new card game in this climate. It's making a paper game. Here, I'll make it a little bit more straightforward. You think you would play these games, you wouldn't. That's how most of these reboots, like that's literally the reality of so many of these dead card games, is a lot of them died because of maybe some mismanagement or whatever. But what really killed most of them is just people weren't playing. People maybe started it and continue, or it got, just swallowed up by Friday Night Magic or something like that.
And waters are much more treacherous in 2025 than they were back in the 90s.
And so, this is not a knock against these games, but like, let's say Dinosaur King came out today and it had kind of a little campaign. They put a little marketing dollar into it. Like, we're bringing back Dinosaur King. And some old fans would be like, yeah, like I loved that. Like I loved playing that in the, early 2000s?
It was in early 2000s.
Yeah. I love playing that. Like, that's so cool. They're bringing it back. that's so cool they're bringing it back, they will say. However, the game will come out, and the people who thought that was so cool also are married and have kids.
Or they also bought the latest Magic the Gathering set.
And one of two things happens. They remember it from their childhood, but they just kind of can't actually play it today because like their lifestyle does not allow it. They're married, they have kids or whatever. So that crowd's kind of more out. Or, like you said, they just bought the latest Magic set and they've got Commander Nights, and who are they going to play this new game
their
with?
Schedule's already packed.
Because basically, okay, we do like Friday night Commander with the boys and the Saturday Commander tournament or whatever.
With the vase.
And so basically, like, where does this game slot in? Can you convince your entire social circle to try this game
Boy,
out?
you got to have some pull.
You know, like, it's got to be...
run that circle.
Yeah, it's got to be tough. So that's the only reason why I think that it is safer for these games to do what you're saying, where you maybe make an online game. And even then it runs into the problem that you also said, there's still got to be some monetization system.
It's got to make money, or it
because
will,
like these things simply won't
can't exist.
last. So like digitally, at least the barrier to entry for a game to get a reboot is lower, because doing like the physical production and then having it fail is probably a lot more crushing for a company.
It's harder to get a company to agree to it.
But then even like with a digital game, it's like, will people, like, how much are people willing to spend on like this microtransaction currency, gems, whatever?
Nobody knows.
And it's really hard to say because
we're still figuring it out
sure
for modern games.
Yeah, we're still figuring out that for modern
games. Look at Shadowverse.
Yeah, and then like also, you know, will you feel safe that this game will be around in a few months?
And you shouldn't.
Because like
it failed once already.
We failed once, and we saw it happen with Cross Duel. And you see what happens with these games. These games go fast.
They do.
Like if it is a ruthless industry, like I'm giving the boring, you know, no bullshit answer because that is the reality of like the world of reboots. Like
that's why so many things end up as like fan like reboots, essentially on a Discord server somewhere, a passion project, because it's really hard to get a company to put up money for something that is likely not to go well.
Right. So that's the kind of unfun answer. But the fun answer is yes, bring them all back.
Wow. We're not going to do that answer. Anyway, thank you guys for your questions. That brings this episode of The Pot of Greed to a close.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Please, if you are watching the premiere, we'd appreciate it if you would go ahead and like the video and maybe leave a regular comment on the video as well.
Yes,
just a reminder about that. It helps with engagement. You can share it. You can do everything.
And shout out to the premiere gang. Have a good day.
Yeah. See ya.